It's a nice car to be in. It's comfortable. Visibility is amazing. I mean, I am 5'11", and I can sit so low in the car that I almost have an entire palm of headroom, an expanded palm, not a closed palm. All right, an expanded palm of headroom. And sorry guys, I haven't reached the kind of speed where I can engage into 7th gear just to be sure. But I'm sure it's 7th gear. Is the way it drives is just like the 7-speed dual clutch, 7-speed dry clutch transmission that has that hesitation when you are driving slowly, but they've already done it rather well compared to when these transmissions first pop out. Okay, so let's say you're stationary now, and then you do a sudden kick down, and then you wait. It wheel spins because this is just a front wheel drive, and then it pulls strong from there on. It just pulls really strong. I mean, there's no argue about Volkswagen engine's capabilities. Alright, be it the 1.4 or the 1.8 or the 2 liter, they all perform really, really well. And of course, the platform, the Mark 7 platform is fantastic. It rides well, it handles well. It's a joy to drive. This car is a joy to drive. What is not so joyful would be the gearbox when you compare this to the likes of a CX-5 with its amazing transmission. Alright, this transmission is still rather, I don't know how to put it, because put it this way, you want the fuel efficiency, dual clutches deliver that, right? And you want the kind of fast shifting behavior, dual clutch delivers that. But unfortunately, this 7-speed dry clutch, which was a compromise design. Why? Because predominantly what they want to deliver is lightweight. This transmission is very small in size, fuel efficiency, and the kind of joy of driving, right? But the downside of it is its low speed capabilities. When you're going at low speeds, you just don't. If you've driven a BMW with the ZF gearboxes, or those modern, those gearboxes are expensive. They're huge, they're big, they're 8-speed, blah blah and all that. But they're so good that when you drive this, you are constantly reminded the gearbox is working. Unlike driving a new Volvo, a new BMW, or the Mazda for the matter, you tend to forget about the gearbox because it is just so seamless. And of course, that's not to even mention Porsche's PDK. They are flawless, right? So these transmissions are like, you get the kind of driving experience of someone who owns a Ford Fiesta or a Focus or any of the Volkswagen dry clutch gearboxes. It just keeps on reminding you that it downshifted now. It upshifted. You get reminded that often when you are driving in your day-to-day driving. Other than that, once you're on the move on the highway, they're perfectly fine. In fact, I would call them enjoyable even. Alright. In terms of the logic of how it downshifts and all that, I don't think it is as clever as Mazda or Porsche's. But nonetheless, if you get the gearbox out of the way, then and of course another thing, power delivery. If you're used to, if you came from an old CX-5 and you come into this, you'll be like, oh, why do I constantly feel that when I come to a stop, I would do this, and then when I accelerate, I would do this. You just because it isn't calibrated to that extent, okay, on how power is linearly developed. How do you feel seated at the driving position? How does your neck muscles feel? No, at this price point, nobody gives a damn about your freaking neck, alright? So, except Mazda, alright? So CX-5 gives you that kind of that kind of behavioral, the car moves in accordance to how your feet moves on the throttle pedal. These kind of sensation you cannot get in any other cars at this price point. Okay, only Mazda does that. But again, not every consumer is as anal as people like us. Okay, now if you look at, you see, that's a Macan, a Porsche Macan. In 90% of driving situations, the Porsche Macan doesn't have any advantage over a Tiguan, even though they are the same company. To be honest, I mean, it's a 5-seater car. In fact, the Tiguan is more spacious, and in terms of interior fit and finish, of course, Porsche is nice, but Volkswagens are, you can't find anything to fault in terms of fit and finish, right? From the same company, that one has a 2-liter turbo, this one is a 1.4 turbo. On the highway, the car can do 200, this car can do 200. Not big of a difference, but of course a Macan is of course, I would say, prettier than a Tiguan. A Tiguan was purposely designed so that it doesn't look as good as a Q5. Yeah, that's just the blunt opinion, right? I mean, it has everything. It has a reverse camera. I wouldn't say it's the highest resolution camera out there, but hey, it's better than the one in the Lexus LS, a 1.3 million car. So what can you argue, right? Let's go through the car and see if this is still a car that you should buy. Okay, there are a lot of modern stuffs in here. The LCD here, the cluster looks great, by the way. The touchscreen looks great, by the way. This steering wheel is very, very familiar. Very old, but it works. So I'm not gonna argue with that. And I like the thin rim. All right, let's go through the car. Now, before I go out or I egress, I need to show you how I go out, because no, it's gonna be too far. I'm sorry. Okay, here's my butt. Alright, here's the height of the seat. There's the sill. That is the unnecessary equipment. Look at how I come down from the car. Alright. There's almost little to none SUV kind of, sorry for pointing at my crotch, but what I want to say is that in terms of egress and egress in SUVs, this has got to be one of the best, right? You just walk up to the car and drop your butt in. There's no climbing, there's nothing. That's why I say this is absolutely unnecessary. Let me explain why. You see, look at how low the door reaches, okay? When I close the door, this is the seal, alright? Some cars, they design their doors to close here. Look at how Volkswagen designed the doors. It closes all the way down to the seal. See that? It goes all the way down. The benefit of this design is that when it rains, all the mud is outside, alright? It keeps this part clean, so that when you go in and out, your shoes and your socks and your long pants won't rub against the dirty part here while you go in and bring all the dirt in. Alright, this is something that SUV owners would face, but sorry, before I went to the but, so this is really well designed here, right? It goes all the way down. However, in this so-called special updated variant, they added this unnecessary step here, and my legs kept rubbing against it. So this is a dumb accessory. Especially, this is not a Range Rover. A Range Rover, you need this to step and climb in, right? Right. You need that to climb, right? But this is so low perfectly at your hip point to go in and out of the car. You don't need a step. Sorry for spending 5 minutes talking about a step. Okay, for those who sorry, forgot my glasses. For those who have never seen the exterior of the Tiguan, there you go. There are no significant updates, and if I'm a car designer, I wouldn't even know how to facelift this car, because it was designed with such a how do I put this? The design direction of this car is so may I use the word stubborn? Right, that person just wants straight lines, very squarish, very strong, blocky character kind of design that you just is rather impossible to find a way to facelift it. See, in most facelift, they wouldn't change this whole metal part, this angle, and the bonnet line won't be changed. In most facelift, they would change how the bumper line interacts with this, so they can play around with some new headlamp designs. Why? Because this involves stamping. This involves stamping, and changing the stamping tool spends, which means you spend a lot of money. This is molding. All right, molding. You can just throw the mold away, do another one, and mold new pieces, and you design a slightly different headlamp to accommodate it. But this part will never change in most facelifts. All right, provided they spend a lot of money, waste a lot of money, like how Mazda does their Mazda 6. Okay. Anyway, I have no idea what this joint is. I don't know. I don't study my cars before I review them. You get some spoilers, which this is power tailgate. So you get a little metal strip here, which is a good addition, because when you bring your luggages in and out, you might scratch against your bumper. Is this aluminium or plastic? I'm not sure. Okay, but the Tiguan has never had an issue with this load lip. Look at this load lip, right? It's almost non-existent. You can just take your luggage and just slide it in. All right, and you get a spare inside here, which is Malaysians want it. I don't understand why. You know, you ask anyone above the age of 30 or 40 who has been driving for more than 15 years, ask them the probability of you using a spare wheel, and you carry them with you every single day without fail. Another weight penalty of 30 kilograms. Waste your fuel. There's no need to have a spare tire in Malaysia anyway. You pull this, it releases. Oh, it pops out, which is very good. Okay, this is very good. This is very, very good. I mean, in this segment, this is something that car makers should have. All right. Nowadays, cars of this segment, or all of them, have power tailgates. Amazing. Alright, it folds rather flat. There is an angle, but it's alright. Okay, because it's not a Japanese car. If it's a Japanese car, I would ask, why is it not flat? You know? Yeah, well, even when we review cars, there are some slight racism here, because Germans never can figure out seats that fold perfectly flat. You know, there's just something wrong with them. So, in the German car, we talk about how slanted it is. Anyway, let's come out the car. It is a spacious mid-size SUV. You get very little obstruction down here. You know, your feet can roam freely. My size 11 feet can perfectly slot in between the base of the rear seat and the rails of the front seat. And you notice the rails are raised. They're not mounted on the floor itself, they are raised, so I have leg room to slot my feet in, which is really good. And a very rare thing in this segment, right? You get a tray, but the angle of the tray is largely dependent on how kind your front passenger is to you. Okay. Okay. You need the person to, you need to go like, Mom, can you sit upright a bit? My spaghetti is sliding off the tray and onto the car. And here you have a little cup holder. You see, this thing, kids love it. Kids absolutely love it. Right? So if you don't plan to bring your kids on a holiday where it involves flying, just ask them to come into the car and role play. Okay, we're in the plane now. This is your captain speaking, and they love it. Okay, kids are dumb. USB port, 12-volt socket, independent zone, not bad. All right, so I would give full marks for the rear seat space of a Tiguan, if not for these annoying headrests. They are less annoying than in the Peugeots because those are really hard. These are soft, almost okay that you got lazy and don't want to push them up. Okay, again, for those who's first time watching my videos, I always explain why they exist. These are designed earlier on in European cars to force you to raise them so that you are protected from whiplash injuries. Why? Because back then, these kind of design extend downwards and they're rather hard, and they make you feel very uncomfortable pushing at your back, at the base of your neck, and then you will feel compelled to push them up. And once you push them up, you get to properly rest your head, and it protects you against whiplash. All right, but now they are not so draconian with this. You know, they made it a little bit softer, a little bit shorter, so that it's okay to just rest on it. Can I recline? No, that's the max. Can I sit upright a bit? Yes, I can, to liberate more room at the back. This is rather good. And in terms of the seat back angle, this is nice. A good in between, not as crazy as the one in the Harrier, but I think it's better than the Mazda. It's better than the others. Okay, and yep. If you have a friend who has a Macan, ask him to sit at the back seat of his own car and come into this. This beats the Macan. Alright, let's pull the armrest down. I hate these type of armrests. It's cheap. It's just one piece of cushion with two holes, but again, I can't argue this anymore because the Cayenne has the exact same armrest. Yes, a Cayenne, 1.3, 4, 5 million, doesn't matter. It's the same cushion with two holes. This one better, 3. Alright, the best armrest? Mazda. Open it up, 2 USB ports inside, cup holder slides out, carpeted inside. Brilliant. Alright, door panels, you get to put huge bottles here, and very luxurious is carpeted here, but the plastic molding at this side is sharp. Okay, let me press my fingers against it. See how sharp it is? Alright, that's the difference between expensive cars and cheaper cars. Alright, when it comes to these little stuff, touch points, they don't really care that much, but overall it's still the usual Volkswagen quality of materials. The front door cards are soft touch, the rear door cards are hard, cheap plastics. See, this is how car makers save on cost. So this part is soft touch, this part is hard plastics, and the type where your knuckles hurt when you knock on them. So these are the cheapest, most low rent plastics at the back, but the fit and finish is something that you cannot argue with. Alright, this, even though it's cheap hard plastic, but it's available in the E-Class and the S-Class. Same plastic grade at the back here. Okay, let's go to the driver's seat. So in terms of plushness of this interior, it cannot be compared to the CX-5. There's no comparison. Alright, but fit and finish, both of them are better than the CR-V. Alright, let's come to the front seat, start the car. You get keyless entry. This key looks 20 years old, but hey, it has keyless. Why is it 20 years old? My 1997 Audi A4 key looks the same. Alright, someone left some rubbish here, throw them away. You get a very large door bin over here. It's wide and deep, and there's nothing here, but somehow this part was blocked. See, you can go in, you can go all the way in. That means you can hide your contrabands in here. When you go Singapore, you can bring some cigarettes and hope that you don't get caught. Okay, I didn't say that. Alright, you get this looks like a compartment, but suspiciously like a fuse box, but it is a compartment. Why do they make this feels like the handle of a fuse box? Like they don't feel like wanting you to press it. Nevertheless, you get to put some stuffs in here. They're so liberate. They liberally use a lot of carpeting here. They could have used some over here so you can throw your stuffs in, your coins and all that, so they don't make noise. But they have not. And in terms of interior appointments, this again, just like the car, won't win any beauty awards. But I must say, it again is the kind of interior that you can't really argue. Alright, the glove box is very upright, so when you open, to a very large degree, it still doesn't come into contact with your knees. See, it was designed rather upright instead of opening from here. When you want to drop it, your legs have to move out of the way. This one you don't have to, and the compartment actually goes with it. That means it's not just a lid, so you can stuff it full of stuff without being worried that when you close the lid you're going to press against something. No, because the entire compartment and the lid goes together. Do you see that? Alright, it goes together. CD, SD card, stuff that people don't care anymore. Okay, the seats are I would say these are low-cost seats. Alright, they don't look like they come from a European car. They look like they come from some Nissan X-Trail or something, you know. But they are very supportive, you know. The side bolsters and all that, they're fine. They're supportive. Okay, footwell. I get a lot of room, unlike the GLC. Sorry, GLC owners. I love the GLC, except the footwell. You get proper left footrest. You get proper space between your feet, so it's comfortable in long journeys. It's a comfortable car. You get a hidden compartment here. This looks suspiciously like a speaker, but it's a hidden compartment so that you can put extra contrabands in here when you enter Singapore again. You get out of nowhere, you get all this simple stuff, and suddenly, ooh, a very expensive looking frameless rear view mirror. Okay, and I especially like the presentation of this and this and this. It makes the car looks more expensive than it is. Okay, but somehow again, Volkswagen always suffer from all this positioning nonsense. You know, they purposely put a slower processor behind so that everything sort of moves slower than in an Audi. You know, it's not because of cost. You know, this is done intentionally just to position them differently. So everything just sort of you sort of lose some frame rate here and there. But in terms of functionality, this is very, very simple because everything is just out there. You know, just like a mobile phone, just press and then you go in. You don't need unnecessary clustering. You know, I'm sure you can find everything here. Very easy to use. You get a nice sun visor with the mirror, and again, both sides. You can put your cards here. Lovely. Not the highest quality sun visor, but no faults there. This is brilliant. This is just brilliant. You can put the largest aviator sunglasses you can find from the most ridiculous brands, you know, Balenciaga or whatever, those brands that love to do nonsense stuff. You can put the largest aviators here and it will fit perfectly. And this sunglass holder feels like Rolls-Royce next to a C-Class or E-Class or GLC sunglass holder. Those are really cheap rated plastics and very small, so you can't put large aviators in your GLC in your C-Class sunglass holder. All right, and some cars don't even have it now. Okay, come to here. This looks like an A segment car. You know, A segment normally they don't give you an armrest, but sometimes you can buy some from online, and then you have a little box here with the lid. But the construction is super solid. This is Volkswagen after all, right? And one thing I love about VAG Group, holds it there, pulls out, doubles as your armrest. Fantastic utilization of whatever that is available in the car, and this part is very high quality stuff. It won't break in time. I have a 1997 Audi A4. Every single Audi A4 breaks their armrest because the hinge was made of cheap, brittle plastic and they break. Alright? Another thing I want you guys to notice are the headrests. I love this headrest. There's a button over here, you press it and you push it in, and then when you want to have a different angle for your head, you can push it out. Very, very nicely done. This is superb. Okay? Now, come to this. This is the award-winning best cup holder in the world. Who gave the award? I'm not sure. I just made it up. But this has got to be the world's best design cup holder in the history of car making. Okay, you pull this lid. This lid is slightly rubberized. It feels rubberized, but I don't think stuff will slide. And then you open it, and you're like, well, where the dude is the cup holders, right, Bobby? This button you press. Holy moly! Every time, I just need to say that. Fantastic. All right, and this. Then you can put your cups there. Small Red Bull or Coca-Cola is fine. You don't need it, just slot it back. Just slide it back. And then it is a fantastic compartment. And somehow there is a spring here. I hope it's not from this car. But nevertheless, it works. So let it be. Why is there a spring part there? Brilliant! This is brilliant. But why do they purposely design it to be slanted? They could have made it just straight. Make use of this space to have an even larger compartment. Why you do this unnecessary angle design? There's no point, right? Just make it straight. The lines outside are all straight anyway. Why you suddenly feel that you need to be a bit more flamboyant with the interior design? I mean, nobody expects that from Volkswagen anyway. Just make it straight so that we have a square compartment, and then we have these two brilliant mechanisms placed here, left and right. You press the buttons, it comes out, and then you still have a square box at the back there, right? It will make it even better. But nonetheless, I love this mechanism. I hope Volkswagen use it forever. Okay, here you have a slanted area to put mobile phones. Let's see if it is wide enough for a Note 10. Yes, it is. You know, it was hilarious. Hyundai, I forgot which Hyundai, has a compartment that looks similar, and the Note 10 can't fit. I mean, given that this is from Korea, the car is from Korea, what kind of benchmarking were they doing, you know? So you get two USB ports here, an auxiliary jack here, a 12-volt socket here. This compartment is perfectly usable. You can place one phone, two phone, you know, keep it charged and all that. Brilliant. So, is this a car that you should buy? Again, very few cars in this segment can be as overall as good as a Mazda CX-5 these days, in terms of how they drive, how they look, how expensive they feel, and how much they charge you for it. Alright. If you are a Volkswagen fan, I mean, if you are a fan of European cars, you appreciate the build quality, the handling, the quietness of the cars. Unfortunately, over the past 10 years, Mazda has delivered all this in classic Japanese reliability, right? Mazda matches the handling of the best Europe can throw at it, right? New Mazdas are quieter than even a CX-5 is quieter than a C-Class. Can you imagine that? Way quieter than a C-Class, okay? Even a Mazda 3 is quieter than a C-Class. And then the CX-5 is very well built. Its interior design is like a Lexus, blah blah. You just can't really argue with that proposition nowadays, right? And then add to the fact that when you buy a Volkswagen, you know for a fact that we used to accept the fact that it is less reliable because we want the driving factor, but now the driving factor can be delivered in and by another car brand with excellent reliability records. Add to the fact that there's another contender in this segment. See, this one is so rational, so straight lines, so boardroom, right? There is another contender in this segment that arguably doesn't suffer from the kind of hierarchy positioning that Volkswagen always suffers, right? A Tiguan cannot look better than a Q3. A Tiguan cannot have faster processors than whatever Audi is doing, right? Because it's a Volkswagen, you need to have your positioning. There is another player in this segment that has suffered from really bad reliability reputation 10 years ago, but their new cars, we don't hear any problems, right? We hear problems of the B8 Passat having issues here and there, still with issues, but we don't hear problems with their new cars anymore. What car brand is this? A car brand that hasn't changed their basic recipe for their gearbox and engine for the past 10 years. They just keep on improving it, okay? That's Peugeot, alright? The new 3008 compared to this looks like, I mean, if 3008 is a fashion show, this is just a stage, you know? The design of that car, the interior flamboyance of it, is this beautiful interior. Everything is fantastic. Peugeot doesn't have to care, or now they have to. They just bought FCA. They just bought Fiat Chrysler Group. So now Alfa Romeo belongs to Peugeot. Anyway, yeah, when the Tiguan came out, is rather high, because that was when the old CX-5 was there, the old Peugeot 3008 was there, and this guy came out and is like, ooh, wow, drives really well because of the Mark 7 platform, right? And now it still drives really, really well. It's still well built. It is still very spacious. I think it's more spacious than the CX-5, but you get little in between them, but the CX-5 is still really good, and then 3008 also really good. So if you were to ask me, is this car a bad car? No, it's great. The gearbox is because you're poor. You can't afford a Macan to get the PDK gearbox, or an Audi to get that proper 6-speed DSG, right? Or with the wet clutches, right? Sorry to say that, just a joke, okay? Yeah, that's why you are with this lowest end 7-speed dry clutch that does that in slow traffic. But overall, still okay. However, this one, the testing with all the unnecessary bit, the stupid thing there, 170 over 1,000. 170. You can almost buy the top spec CX-5. In terms of advanced features, this one has none of it. None of it. Alright? None. Blind spot warning? Yeah. That's about it. Okay? So, still okay. If you love the classic Volkswagen driving experience, I would say in terms of driver engagement, if your skills are not that high, if you're an average driver, you get to feel this car is nicer to drive earlier. That means the CX-5, if you drive normally, you just think, oh yeah, it's like a normal car. But you get to, when you go higher and higher, you push the way you drive to 8/10s, 9/10s, then you feel like, oh, the CX-5 is brilliant, right? Whereas this car, you will feel that it's a nicer car to drive when you are only driving 3/10s, let's say. Hey, it's nippy, it's nice, the visibility is great, everything is great. Yep. So, yep. But if you were to point a gun at me and ask me in between these three cars, basically the CX-5, the 3008 and Tiguan. Why I didn't mention the CR-V? Okay, the CR-V is the default car of this segment. Basically, it is an SUV made for people who wanted SUV in the biggest way possible that segment allows it to exist. Basically, a mid-size SUV category, right? They stretch it all the way, gives it the biggest boot, biggest rear seat, biggest front seat, everything just huge. And then they have the Honda sensing and all that. It's fantastic value, alright, for people who wanted an SUV. But these guys, the 3008, the CX-5 and the Tiguan, represents people who used to drive sedans, and then now they sort of warm up to SUVs, and they want that handling enjoyment, that driving enjoyment still. Alright, I cannot imagine CR-V Club arranging Genting runs or togeys, right? But you can imagine 3008 owners or Tiguan owners or CX-5 owners go out on windy roads to have fun. That's why if you just want all out bang for buck, the least money I spend, the largest space I get, you get for the CR-V, right? But if you want an SUV or mid-size SUV that carries that kind of feel like an X5 or Cayenne or Macan, where you get to enjoy your drive. These three boys are the best choice in the market now, and amongst them, again, my top picks would be the CX-5 and the 3008, and then one level down would be this guy here. Maybe because of the transmission, maybe, but still a lovely car to drive. Alright, that's my review of the new current Tiguan. Don't pick this spec, this unnecessary body kit thing. I mean, when you buy a car, if you look at the whole range that they are offering, if it has the same transmission and same gearbox, alright, do not pick the top spec with all the extra kits go in, with the body kit, all the nonsense. Those are nonsense, alright. Pick the one with where your money goes to interior specs. That's the way to buy cars, alright? If the engine and transmission is identical across the range, just buy the one that is slightly above or the in between one. Alright, so those people who buy the 1.5 Civic Turbo with all the stupid body kits are not worth it. Alright, those people who buy like a Toyota Vios with the full TRD body kit, or the City with full body kit, or those, remember the Myvi with the Extreme 1.5 liter Myvi Extreme, where the price almost reached 60,000 ringgit, is just dumb. Alright, yep, that's about it. Cheers. One thing I want to praise about this car are the graphics. The graphics designs are, for this segment, is actually rather good, you know, the graphics. So I really like it. Air conditioner. This looks proper high end. Alright. Not the most user friendly, but it looks proper high end. Whenever you did a render of the car's interior in such high resolution in the car, it always gives people a very upmarket feeling. Especially it looks something like animations, but of course not like Mercedes-Benz, they move and all that, right? Mercedes is still the best when it comes to graphics. Now, alright, so what is this? Whoa! Whoa! Look at that! There's some proper animation there, and that increases the value perception of the car, actually. And what's great, you know, you see all this touchscreen, and then you thought, aircon controls are touchscreen. No, the full thing is here, physical button and touchscreen, right? So the touchscreen is more like, you know, because they run on CAN bus, you know, they can do any software that manipulates the car, and they can do anything with it. Yep, that's about it. Another thing that shows the positioning of Volkswagen and Audis, you see, this is a very logical thing. Why is the on-off button following the turning of this dial? Solely because this is Volkswagen. Because in an Audi, the center part will be independent from the outer ring. So when you turn, this marker or this legend stays upright. See, all these things infuriates me, because you are your own company, alright? Don't do the hierarchy thing. And any self-worthy engineer would have spotted this and argue, but then got struck down by management because of positioning nonsense. Alright, see you guys.